ஃபிலிம் மேக்கிங் உங்கள் பேஷனா? கௌதம் வாசுதேவன் என்கிட்ட ஸ்டோரி சொல்லுங்க, பிரைஸஸ் வின் பண்ணுங்க.
Milky Mist in உயிர் தர dairy products, healthy and tasty in every delicious bite.
You know, I've done the last 2 Thors and I've done the last 3 Avengers. It's not easy. We always try and raise the bar, but it's also physically demanding. You know, to try and get into Thor shape or get anywhere near Chris's shape is difficult, and it's almost a job in itself. You know, Thor that fight with Thanos. I remember that in Atlanta, and me as fat Thor in that final fight. You know, I got hit by Thanos into a breakaway tree, and then Scorpion face first into the ground. Just lots of flying about, thrown around, smashing, crashing, and it was an amazing sequence to be part of, but very difficult. The Thor hammer is obviously very heavy, but that one's used by Chris predominantly because it's the real Thor hammer is very, very heavy. If you were to drop that on your foot or hit someone with that, it would be very, very dangerous. You know, I would be not telling the truth if I said that I didn't feel nervous. But what I do is channel those nerves into focus, adrenaline, and you know, use that as an advantage to me to achieve the stunt to the highest level. Sam Hargrave is known for his one-ers. He wanted to try something a bit different on Extraction and go from vehicles to fights in the movie that, you know, Chris performs, and Chris does, you know, 95% of those fights. We didn't have much time to rehearse because we had a lot to do. That was one of my proudest stunts, I think, to date, because no wires, it was all free, it was all up to me to be able to execute that to the level that I needed to execute it at.
Behindwoods, Maatheyosi with Agni. In this episode, we have the stunt double of Chris Hemsworth, who has worked in the recent film Extraction, Bobby Holland Hanton. Hi, Mr. Holland. It's a pleasure to have you here in this show.
Thank you very much for having me.
How did you end up being Chris Hemsworth's stunt double? How did that happen?
I met Chris at the end of 2011. I had just actually finished The Dark Knight Rises in America. I stunt doubling for Batman as Christian Bale and you know, Chris Nolan's last Batman and Bale's last Batman. And I finished that show in just before the Christmas period, and I came home and just did about 3 or 4 weeks on Snow White and the Huntsman, the first installment of the 2. And Chris obviously is one of the leads in that. So I met him then, and, you know, it was kind of more of just passing by and saying hi. And I thought, you know, early on that he was such a lovely guy and very talented, and obviously looks like a movie star. Yeah. He is. And then the following year, I started prep and rehearsals on The Dark World, Thor 2 in 2012. And we met again then. And from that date onwards, I've been his contractual stunt double ever since. That was 8 or 9 years ago. And I think we've done 12 movies together. So we have a really good relationship. And we have done for so long. And he's one of my closest friends. And I think that's very important to have that work relationship, but also the personal relationship. And he puts a lot of trust in me, and he's done a hell of a lot for me in my career to date. And yeah, I mean, it's I think we complement each other very nicely.
Let's talk about Thor. Thor must have been a very challenging process for you as a stunt double, because it involves a lot of hard work to be able to pull such humongous stunt sequences. So let's talk about Thor.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, again, it's been... You know, I've done the last 2 Thors and I've done the last 3 Avengers. So that's 5 times, you know, portraying the Thor character as a stunt double. And, you know, obviously with what's happened with the pandemic, Thor 4 has been pushed until next year. But we do that in Sydney next year, which I'm looking forward to, to team back up with Taika Waititi and Mark Ruffalo and those guys, and, you know, Tessa Thompson. And who knows, you know, it's always a pleasure working on the Thors, and with, you know, Taika's an absolute genius, and so is Chris, and so is the whole team, you know, the crew and cast, and I'm very much looking forward to that. But it's, you know, it's not easy. We always try and raise the bar and try and achieve, you know, stunts that have not been seen or done before, and the creative side of that is very interesting and very I enjoy that side of things very much. But it's also physically demanding. You know, to try and get into Thor shape or get anywhere near Chris's shape is difficult, and it's almost a job in itself. You know, I'm training twice, maybe 3 times a day, and eating 8 meals a day to try and get to that kind of shape. And then you need to be able to rehearse and perform the stunts and still be able to do all of that stuff at the highest level. So it's challenging. It's very difficult, but it's a challenge that I take on, and it's a challenge that I look forward to in many ways. And it's an achievement when I can get through that film and hopefully be proud of the end product and the job that I've done.
And sometimes you get a prop also to fight, like the one in Thor. The most popular prop that you ever used must have been that hammer that the Thor has been using. Is that heavy in real?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've got to try and use what we can when we're giving it. The Thor hammer is obviously very heavy, but that one's used by Chris predominantly, and he uses that hammer when it's close-up shots. He's holding it. There's not much action with it because it's the real Thor hammer is very, very heavy. Oh. If you were to drop that on your foot or hit someone with that, it would be very, very dangerous. But also to be able to, do the fights to what the level we need to and the speed that we need to do it. We need all different weighted hammers, all different, material is used. We need soft ones, stunt ones, so there's a lot of different ones. But the actual main hammer that is shot with and close up it's amazing. It's a great weapon. I mean, you can fly with it. What better weapon do you need if you can fly with a hammer, Yeah.
What kind of training went behind pulling off Thor, especially when you had to shoot for the Avengers series back to back, the Infinity Wars and End Game?
There's a lot of weight training. There's a lot of circuit training. There's for myself to stay agile and be able to articulate my movement and my body in the way that I need to try and, be as functional as possible. So going back to my roots of being a gymnast, all of our conditioning was all of our own body weight. And that consists of planches and handstands and chin-ups, dips, push-ups. It's all kind of, that's my background and that's my base. And that works for me really well to try and stay as agile as possible and light on my feet. But I also use other, elements with weights, circuits, which you guys can check out. There's a lot of that on our center app, the fitness app that we've got with Chris. And, we all work together and we come up with some great ideas and some unique ideas and try and utilize those and utilize all of the personnel to be able to do it to the highest level. So the training side of things are difficult, but you have to do those things to be able to achieve what we achieve. And, it's about trying to stay fit and being able to, perform the stunts at the highest level, but also in the physical condition that we need to be in.
And one of the most iconic moments of Avengers series would be the fight between Thanos and Thor. The sequence where Thor uses his Stormbreaker on Thanos.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got, I feel two of the biggest superhero characters in the Marvel universe, and you've got Thor and Captain America that fight with Thanos and Iron Man as well. What great ingredients to make something incredible and something cinematic and, a great ending to something. So we shot a lot of different things that, didn't even make the movie because, we shot a hell of a lot with Sam Hargrave was second unit director for that. And I remember that in Atlanta and me as Fat Thor in that final fight, just getting thrown around on wires like a rag doll. I got hit by Thanos into a breakaway tree and then Scorpion face first into the ground, a jumping dead man with cables and just lots of flying about, thrown around, smashing, crashing. And, that it was an amazing sequence to be part of, but very difficult because the costume, you're not only just wearing the fat suit, you've got the costume, your stunt pads, your harness. It was heavy and it was hard to articulate the body and it was very hot. We shot in the height of summer in Atlanta, but I'm very proud again of that sequence and I did some great things that you can see on my Instagram. I've got a lot of behind the scenes footage from most of the films that I work on and it kind of shows you how we do things and from start to finish. And I think that's interesting to be able to share that with people, and that's what I try and do. So there's a lot of stuff on the Instagram.
How did you break into the field, Bobby? Because to be a stuntman, it is something that you don't get to hear very often. So how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, my background is gymnastics. I used to compete for Great Britain in men's artistic, all six pieces. And I retired competing in Great Britain when I was 17 due to I had a back injury. I had a Russian coach that left and went to America, and I grew too tall. So naturally, those three big obstacles were too big to get over, and I had to choose a new career path. But you know what? I didn't want to waste all of that, hard work and determination and stuff from such a young age. So I kind of channeled that and used my physical and my physicality and skills to turn that to live acrobatic stunt shows and stuff like that. And then obviously that turned into stunts in film. So, I look at it as a physical degree from the age of 4, really, because, my body is my tool, and, I've used it from such a young age and obviously use it currently now. So that's how I kind of got into the industry. And I've worked through all of the channels, the live shows to start with, then I did commercials and I did TV shows, and then I went into film. So, I've gathered a lot of important experience along the way that's kind of put me in good stead for movies.
And you started at the age of, 23 as a stuntman?
Yeah, so my first job in film was stunt doubling for Daniel Craig as Bond in Quantum of Solace, the second one of his installments of his movie. So yes, 23 I was, and that was nearly 13 years ago, and it feels like it was 13 minutes ago. It's gone pretty quick.
Right. So it's been 13 years, but you must have answered this question a lot of times, but still, I ask you, do you still feel nervous before a risky shot?
Absolutely. That's part and parcel of what we do. And, I would be not telling the truth if I said that I didn't feel nervous. But what stunt performers do, and certainly what I do, is channel those nerves into focus, adrenaline, and use that as an advantage to me to achieve the stunt to the highest level, that I need to perform. So, yeah, it's part and parcel. If I didn't feel nervous, then I think it would be time to stop, because that's just a natural reaction.
So let's talk about Extraction. That's some breathtaking stunt sequences that you have pulled off in Extraction. So, how do you feel about the response that you're getting for the film?
Yeah, we, me and myself and Chris and the team, we were actually finishing off Men in Black we filmed in London, Morocco, and we finished in Italy. So we were, the schedules were really tight, and we came out to India with about 8 or 9 days before we started principal photography, and we had to rehearse and spend all those 8 days in intense rehearsals to try and get up to speed. Yeah, it was kind of go straight from the start when we got there, and it was intense from the start. And as you can see from the results in the film, we got some amazing stuff in some beautiful, scenery. And as I said, it was a lovely, experience to shoot in India with such in lovely locations, but also such lovely people. So we thank you as well.
And the shot where you fall from the roof in Extraction, you fall from the roof, you hit a truck, and then the ground. Hemsworth had shared the making video in his Instagram profile thanking you. So what exactly goes on in your mind before doing such risky shots?
I arrived about 8 days out of before we started shooting. So we didn't have much time to rehearse because we had a lot to do. But we rehearsed it safely in a warehouse with a mock-up set that they built. And I rehearsed it about 3 or 4 times. And then I was like, okay, cool, let's go to set and shoot it. And it ended up being, it's a heavy hitting gag. And it's something that I could then draw on my skills in past experience of growing up and as a gymnast, and using those skills for that as spatial awareness, knowing how to articulate and use my body and speed things up, slow things down, brace to hit, land on the ground. So that was one of my proudest stunts, I think, to date, because no wires, it was all free. It was all up to me to be able to execute that to the level that I needed to execute it at, to work for camera, to work with the guy that I was doing the stunt with. So, yeah, and I think, watching that sequence and that oneer and that part of the stunt where we go off the balcony, onto the awning, onto the truck, onto the ground, stand up, have a fight, and then get hit by a car. It's a sequence I'm very proud of. And again, hats off to the stunt team to make that all happen and work. And everyone worked as a team to make that work.
Talking about training and rehearsals, what kind of rehearsals did you go through before shooting for Extraction?
As you can see in the film, there's a lot of fights in the movie that, Chris performs, and Chris does, 95% of those fights. He's so physically able, and he's a real athlete himself. He's capable of doing it himself, and he does it at the highest levels, so it makes my job a lot easier. It makes the stunt coordinator, the director's job a lot easier by Chris just being so good at what he does. And then I'll step in if it's a real dangerous thing that is just not worth him doing, because if he was to do something that's not, that's a little bit dangerous and could risk him getting injured, if he does get injured, then the production has to stop, the movie stops, and that costs money. So it's about working as a team and figuring out what's worth doing, what's not, so we can keep the momentum of the film going, so we can get it finished and come out with a great product. And as you can see from Extraction, that's exactly what we did.
Talking about looks, Chris Hemsworth's look was much talked about. So were you excited when he got his haircut done for Extraction?
Yeah, I mean, listen, every film we do, Chris likes to try a different look and a different haircut and different hair and makeup. So it's about, again, trial and error, testing it, seeing what works, see what doesn't, see what looks good, see what doesn't. I mean, for him, he looks good whatever he does, so it doesn't really matter. But I think it was a very strong look for the character, and I think it added to that kind of, that burly kind of, strong, gritty kind of looking character with what Sam wanted, the director, and what Chris wanted. And I mean, again, he always looks great, whatever style he's got on, so it was, I mean, I've kept the Extraction haircut because I quite like the haircut. Yeah. So, I've just acted in a film that's out later this year and I've got the same haircut, and we might have some more, additional photography to do. So I've got to keep it the same, but I mean, I actually like it. And
the most talked about scene recently, the 12-minute wonder that you shot for Extraction, must have been a very interesting process, because you had to combine a lot of shots to make it look as one continuous shot.
Yeah, so Sam Hargrave is known for his oneers. They're called oneers, so it's all in one continuous shot, and he's very, very good at that. That's kind of his speciality, and that's just that's just lucky that he's so good at shooting action. He's been there, done it. He knows what to do, and he shot the action, that oneer in Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron, that was amazing. And he wanted to try something a bit different on Extraction and go from vehicles to fights to tumbling off of things, and he did an amazing job. It's one of the, if not the best action sequence as a oneer that's ever been done. And as I said, he's a very clever man. He knows how to shoot that type of sequence, and it was amazing. And I'm very proud to be a part of that whole movie, let alone that one sequence. That's incredible. And Chris feels the same. And we ended up getting a great result with what the outcome of that oneer was. And it's kind of one of those sequences that you're just on the edge of your seat the whole 12 minutes, and you're at the end, off the balcony, the car hit, the truck hit, and then jumping out the truck at the end of the shot. Everyone, I watched it and I shot it and I watched it and was like, whoa, this is really, really action packed, and it's kind of bums on the edge of the seat and high octane, and you really feel like you're in the moment. Well, I was, but you feel like the audience in the moment as well. So yeah, it's an amazing sequence, and it's an amazing film, and an amazing performance from Chris, and a great directorial debut from Sam Hargrave, and the whole team team and crew did a fantastic job.
Any message that you would like to tell to the Indian fans, because people are so positively receiving the film Extraction? So any words from you? Listen,
I mean, the message I would firstly like to say, thank you guys so much for being so welcoming in your beautiful country. And we had such an amazing time. We had a lot of love and good energy from the Indian community that made our job a lot easier. And there were some amazing performances from amazing actors, Randeep and Rudy, and those guys were incredible. And as I said, they opened welcomed us in with open arms, and it was a real pleasure to work there in such a beautiful place with beautiful people. And I had an amazing time. I hope I get to come back soon and work with you guys again very soon. And I hope everyone's safe and well with this crazy pandemic, and I just hope again that I can come back and work in that amazing place again soon. Batman was an iconic superhero, and you run around the house as a kid pretending to be Batman. To wear the suit was absolutely incredible, and it was a bucket list that I ticked off. Luckily enough to play a special agent, and I'm chasing Joseph Gordon-Levitt around the stairwell and then through the doors and off the corridor, and he ends up behind me, and I'm kind of like, whoa, what is he doing behind me? And then he throws me down the stairs.
Paradox.
you know, Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise, they did all of that themselves. They're very, very talented actors.
ஃபிலிம் மேக்கிங் உங்கள் பேஷனா? கௌதம் வாசுதேவன் என்கிட்ட ஸ்டோரி சொல்லுங்கள், ப்ரைஸஸ் வின் பண்ணுங்கள்.
மில்கி மிஸ்டின் உயிர் தர டைரி ப்ராடக்ட்ஸ், ஹெல்த்தி அண்ட் டேஸ்டி இன் எவ்ரி டெலிஷியஸ் பைட்.